Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lawley program. My name is Brock Lawley. I am your fearless host, coming to you during the Ebola apocalypse, right? Ebola off the tongue of every man, woman, and child, 24/7, it seems like. And touching down a little too close to home, right? Cleveland, a hop and a skip away. Too close for comfort. And boy, has this thing gone off the rails. If you had any clinging confidence in your federal government, that has certainly gone the way of the buffalo, as they say. It's just remarkable to see this play out. I'm 100% sure at this point that we would find more medical, biological, and infectious disease competency out of your local middle school chemistry lab. They got to find somebody who at least looks like they know what they're talking about and put them in front of the American people lickety-split, because I got to tell you, if their goal is to squelch fear, and fear is the flames, the PR empty suit talking heads that they got in front of the American people now are like gasoline. And, you know, people like me are always drawing attention to incompetency in politics. And maybe in inside baseball tax policy or whatever the case may be, maybe that won't really move the needle with the average American. But we're talking about flesh and blood. We're talking about the safety of your family. We're talking about life or death, literally at this point. And the incompetence in Washington, D.C. on so many levels, specifically in this issue, is just on parade. And so you'll understand why guys like me fight so hard, why we think it's important. You know, my concern with politics has always been that there's so much attention paid to the big faces, the big names that we all talk about, Barack Obama, right? But what we don't pay attention to is the blob of bureaucracy behind him. See, when an ideology sweeps power and embeds itself in Washington, D.C., it's like water. It fills every little crack, nook and cranny on the road, and then it just explodes into potholes when the weather changes. And what we see on our political landscape right now is a republic that is filled with potholes. These are untold little organizations and secretaries and little pencil pushers that make decisions that affect all of our lives. Little organizations like the CDC that you never talk about at the water cooler. But I'll tell you, when the rubber meets the road and when catastrophe happens, you want competency in these positions. You don't want ideologues that think about nothing from the time they get up to the time they go to bed other than how to climb the progressive totem pole of power. That's what you're seeing in front of you right now. And the decisions that are being made that, yes, do affect your community and your country are being made through the lens of political power, not people. So when all this was popping off, and our government should have been heading this thing off at the pass, high-stakes poker, I think we can all agree, right? Instead, they were in little dark bureaucratic rooms cooking up commercials like this one.
Less government. Cut.
Cut.
Cut. Cut. Cut.
The cut.
That was just a little snippet of the latest offering from the Democratic Party, blaming the party not in power for the real-world scene from The Walking Dead. Show me an area of governance, and I will show you a romper room of incompetence. So what's the plan? Well, the plan is to blame budgets. Oh, the federal government is a great thing, but they don't have enough money. That's right, they don't have enough money. And the reason is because Republicans want to cut government. That's what we're told. Now, the sequestration that they're talking about just so happens to be Obama's idea that, of course, was omitted from the commercial. But perhaps money isn't really our problem. May I give you a few examples of why I don't think it's money that stands in the way of our dealing with problems like Ebola? How about the fact that the CDC's budget spent $300,000 on a health study that found wives would be happier if they would calm down faster during arguments with their husband? The stress, you see, would go down. $300K later. Ask yourself how much you make a year. How about this one? Another $300,000 from the federal government coffers to massage rabbits. How about this one? Uncle Sam just dropped almost $1 million. Ultimate question everybody is talking about. Why do fruit flies fall in love? Or what about the multi-million-dollar study trying to get to the bottom of the question, why are lesbians portly And gay men, not so much so. Or my personal favorite, and I wonder if Obama was a test subject in this one, $350,000 researching how golfers perform when using their imaginations. No, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it was Obama's sequester cuts that are causing the problem. I think it's because the federal government has such a big, fat, bureaucratic belly jiggling around in front of it that it literally can't see if its feet are touching the ground in implementation or not. Yeah, it's that government is enormous and ineffective. Because the truth is that the government attempts to do way too much, and at the end, it doesn't do anything at all. The federal government has pretty much one duty above all. It's to protect the health and the safety, the well-being of its citizens, you, your family. It's to do for you what you can't do for yourself, not to get involved in every micro decision-making process in your life. It's not a lack of funding that's the problem. The federal government has trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to spend every single year. It's misplaced ideological priorities. That's the problem. It's ideology. They don't care about you. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the federal government's limitations. They just care about power. That's it. And that's all.
Ebola is a virus that can be stopped by control measures, and it can be prevented from spread in hospitals by meticulous infection control. Ebola does not spread by casual contact.
At CDC, we had lapses in our laboratories. Fortunately, no one was hurt and nothing was released.
And to Texas now, where we're learning exclusively about a new health threat coming from illegal border crossers. The Border Patrol now worried about a virus outbreak.
They're seeing crossers with contagious infections, and sources tell me right now, all that's separating the sick from the healthy, this caution tape, and agents tell me that's not enough.
We're sending people everywhere, and the average person, the average citizen doesn't realize what's going on down here.
A lot of people are very frustrated, especially people who are working inside the camps. Of course, they tell me that the government says if you speak out, if you tell people what's really happening here, you're not only going to be fired, but we're going to throw you in jail too. So there's a significant threat there, and people are really wondering, well, wait a second, they're not letting congressmen in. They're telling people you're going to be fired if you speak out, and now they're not even letting pastors in, and folks are wondering what the heck is going on in those government-controlled camps that they don't want us to know about.
Department of Homeland Security is essentially putting up another giant detention center. They're calling it an immigration holding cell, and they're expected to hold up to 1,000 kids, 72-hour increments at a time, and release them by bus into different parts of the country unknown. What's happening to our country right now is mind-blowing.
And something your media is simply not talking about is the fact that 36 to 60,000 orphan children washing like a wave across the porous southern border, and all of a sudden, a rare respiratory virus known as D68 or EVD68, now claiming the lives of children in the United States of America. These are the facts. This is what we know. Thousands and thousands of children from El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, walking across the Rodeo Grande into the country, not medically screened, then shipped across the country, and then abracadabra, a disease just happens to pop up, a respiratory disease traced specifically to the South American traced specifically to South America, to say nothing of the fact that smallpox on the rise, especially in the South, bed bugs on the rise, especially in the South, diseases that we haven't seen in years. Hocus pocus, now popping up like pimples on the face of North America. Pretty astonishing. That's the truth. That doesn't mean anybody hates anybody. That's just the truth. And I'll tell you what I do know about life. You don't solve any problems anywhere in any line of work unless somebody's willing to say what's true. All right, let's come up for some air. Here's some good news. Last Sunday during the Cardinals-Redskin game, Captain of the Air Force, Eric Straub, this is near and dear to my heart. I'm an Air Force vet myself. He comes home from his deployment. He goes to the game where he meets up with his NFL cheerleader girlfriend, Claire Thornton. Some guys really have it rough. And he pops the question before thousands and thousands of onlookers. You know, this is always great, right? You go to the game, the guy gets down on his knee. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I always enjoy it. I'm a sucker for this stuff. So bravo for drawing some good attention to the NFL. I was trying to counteract some of the media pockmarks placed on their face of late. BrockLawleyMusic.com or The Brock Lawley Show, iHeartRadio. Always check out WMANFM.com. We'll be right back.